welcome to Gulfstream Park. It is December 23rd, 2014. Christina Basanakis, joined by Ron Nicoletti. 2 days to Christmas, and we have a special card today. We don't usually run on Tuesdays, but we do have a special card.
Yeah, we're just one of a few tracks running in the country, and we have a pretty fun card, and we got a carryover in the Rainbow Six, which starts in race number 5, $40,602. You watch it skyrocket past $50,000 right away. It should be a good bet today, and it's a lot of fun. And being we're the only thing in the country, one of the only tracks in the country, should have a lot of good wagering going on today. We got that fast-made track, we got the firm turf course, and I don't know what else. Happy holidays to everybody for sure.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Very windy. You just made a comment as we were sitting up here, so it'll be interesting to see how that affects the races later on, and also in terms of the turf course and the dirt, how they've been playing. But again, as you said, fast and firm.
Yeah, we'll go check the wind, when we get off this show and see if it's a crosswind. It feels like it might be a crosswind, so it really won't affect the races too much. You really get a big effect if it's coming into the horses, into their faces when they're running, up the backside or something like that. So we'll see what happens with the wind. We will check it out for you. But besides that, absolutely spectacular day in South Florida.
It sure is, and we'll start off our 10-race card today. The first race on the card is a 25,000 claiming event. It is a mile on the main track, and my top selection, I went with number 5, and that's Bellamy Chief from the Ralph Nix barn, and fourth last time in his debut, and that was for Ralph Nix, previously with the Belmont, but Ralph Nix, I always say, he does a good job, and he gets the services of Edgar Prado, and Edgar Prado's been riding very well.
Yeah, he's having a really, really good championship meeting. I did go with the number 7, Elusive Success, is dropping, going to the main track after returning from an extended layoff to press the pace. Weekend, he finished 3rd. That was against $40,000, 2 lifetime runners, going 7 furlongs. That was on a good Belmont turf course. Trainer Michael Matz has a slightly raced son of a successful appeal, firing bullets, but I know you wanted to show a video in here.
I did. Just before we move on to that Elusive Success, the reason I didn't put this gelding on top is I think his numbers really fit. And I think if he runs back to that earlier form, I think it's just, in terms of, until he shows me something, I didn't really want to go with him on top. However, on to the horse that I used, number 2, Thunder Run. We're going to take a look at that last race. Now, that was an allowance company. That was a one other than. Ron, let's look at him at the start. And he gets squeezed here. So he spots the field just a little bit. You'll see him
back there.
He loses some ground early, and in fact, he loses several lengths in that early going. He really didn't show anything on that day, but that's also a lot. That was tough company. That was also on the turf, getting back to the dirt here. So I'm looking for hopefully a performance closer to what he ran on November 1st.
Yeah, and I think with a clean break, he's certainly going to get that. The other horses I used on my ticket in the opener, there you see him right there, still having a little bit of trouble in the back. He really had no chance after that. After that, getting squeezed back soon after the start. I used the 5 Bellamy Chief and the 1 Prince Zurs for the rest of my ticket.
Moving on to the second race on the card, it is a 35,000 maiden claiming event, 5 furlongs on the turf course. We do have a scratch, number 9, Starship Lauren, and this kicks off the early pick 4. And I went with another horse in race 2. I went with number 4, and that's Richie's Tricks from the Wesley Ward barn. And now, Ron, in that last race, that was 7.5 furlongs, and that was back at your stomping ground at Gulfstream Park West. Didn't really, showed some speed, made a middle move, faded late. Now the blinkers come off, and I'm hoping that this filly will run back something similar to what she ran a couple of starts back.
Well, yeah, but if you look at that, she was a good second here at this 5 furlong distance. Was back on October, and October's dropping, as you mentioned, to the $35,000 level, turning back, removing the blinkers today after making that middle move. Like you said, Wesley Ward reunites this daughter of Majestic Warrior. Rafael Hernandez had a couple of wins on the card the other day, and he was aboard when this horse ran second back on October 4th, so knows how to handle this horse when it runs at this abbreviated 5 furlong distance.
And another horse I used, number 2, and that is Bella Luzin. Ron, do you think this filly's going to be a little bit, she's certainly getting a class break here, some relief in that regard, but do you think that she's going to be a little bit closer up this time?
Yeah, going to be a little closer up. I did not use her on my ticket, and I'm looking down and seeing that she's the actual morning line, or second choice in the race. I did not use her. I used the other horse that you had on your ticket, and that's the one you feel this Cornelius, the daughter of Stroll, making her local turf debut. The first start since finishing second. It was a 5.5 furlong debut. It was on the Park's main track. Angel Medina, Gabriel Saez handling inside post. I like the breeding. I don't know about the jump up in class, but I like the breeding on that horse, so I threw it on the ticket. Going to go back and look at the number 2, who I did not use.
And speaking of breeding, number 10 that used Starry Road, and this is a daughter of Quality Road, very good with his first-time starters, so that's something you want to look at with those young stallions. On to the third race on the card, and it is a starter optional claiming event with a claiming price of $35,000. It is 7 furlongs on the main track. We do have a couple of scratches, the 2, 3, and number 7, Viramundo, is going to be ridden by Irad Ortiz Jr., who's replacing John Velasquez, who I think is he's away.
He's away right now, and most of the horses that John were going to ride will be ridden today by Irad Ortiz Jr., so very good rider from the New York circuit. If you're not aware of him, you can see him run down here. The third race is a 7 furlong starter allowance, as you said. I went with the 5, close it out. Who'd you go with?
I went with number 8, and that's Songa, I think. This is my reasoning. I think this gelding's going to be the controlling speed in here, and I think that's going to help him. And as we've seen, the only thing is he's camped out to the outside. I would like to see him get a nice break, get to the front, because we've seen the inside speed has actually been pretty good. And when horses get up there uncontested, they've seemed to be able to roll. Yeah,
it's hard to reel them in here, but I want to go back, and we're going to show you that video of the horse I had on top, close it out. He had some trouble at the start.
He sure did, and if you look at his race last time, now, in fairness, you'll look at him right there, and which he spotted now the field a couple lengths. And Ron, you can't spot these kind of horses. You got Speechify in here, who's going to be running this weekend in the Mr. Prospector, I believe. Grand Shores, he's another really nice horse. You can't spot those kind of horses even a couple of lengths, and he did there. I think he's back in a reasonable spot, back at a reasonable level, and I think that he's going to be one of those that you're going to want to have in the mix.
Yeah, he's got tons of back class, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. He spotted perfectly against these $35,000 starter optional claimants, and you couldn't spot Speechify anything that day.
Yeah, exactly.
And so the horse looked so impressive, both in the paddock and when it ran. Yeah. So number 5, close it out. My top chick got the 8 song, as you mentioned, stretching out that additional furlong after responding to a surface switch. Really rousing score against $62,000 option claimers, going 6 furlongs across town at Gulfstream West. Jorge Navarro is over 30, I think he's about 34% with horses winning consecutive races.
My biggest question in there, and I see we both used him in the third spot, and that's Viramundo. He ran in the Jewel, really didn't show anything. That was 9 furlongs, so we're cutting back to, I think, a distance that's better for him. Ron, if you go back to his races over the winter, the spring, they were pretty good. If you ran back to those, he can win.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I just didn't know what to do. And if you look, he was a distant third in the Grade 1 Don Handicap right here last February. Turned back today, as you mentioned, 7 furlongs. He failed to get on track in the Jewel. That was his first race in 9 months.
Exactly.
Marty Wilson, Irad Ortiz Jr. If there's anybody going to wake this horse up, it's both Marty Wilson and jockey Irad Ortiz Jr. It got a lot of back class, too. So this race on paper, you say, oh, it's closing out, it's Songa. It's more wide open than you think. And if Viramundo won, I would not be shocked at all.
If he runs his best race, I agree with you. On to the 4th race on the card. It is an 8,000 claiming event, 7 furlongs on the main track. And my top selection is number 7. Congrats, Rob. And it looks like, I think, did you go in the same direction? No, you went with number 2, Convolution.
Yeah, we flip-flopped our picks here. We got 2-7 or 7-2. Convolution stepping up the competition after adding to his horse-for-course status when he defeated 6,250 claimers here going a mile and winning for the 3rd time in 6 races over this track. And he also has 2 seconds, so 5 for 6 on this track. Trainer Antonio Sano claimed him last out. He's really good with first off the claim. He's over 27%. Got congrats, Rob, on there. Figures going to face this open competition. Figures as one to really beat in here.
And we also both included number 3, and that's Smoke in the Field from the Ralph Zadie barn, and hasn't raced since November 19th. That was at Gulfstream Park West, but consistent of late.
Yeah, what I didn't like about him when I didn't put him on the top of the ticket, actually, obviously, I did use him on the ticket. 13 races here with only 1 win, 2 seconds, and 4 thirds. So he's one of those horses that I'm going to put on the bottom of the exacta trifecta. And this is this 3rd leg of the early pick 4, which started in race 2. So those races, I think you got to go a little deep here when you're putting that ticket together.
Yeah, you sure do. We're going to take a short break and come back and have a look at the 5th on the card that kicks off the 20-cent Rainbow 6. Stick around.
Gulfstream Park is one of Florida's top entertainment destinations. mixing restaurants, clubs, a casino, and international boutique shops with world-class racing. In a lavish, sun-drenched setting with the feel of a Mediterranean village, Gulfstream is a leading year-round entertainment and tourist destination and the home of luxury residences in 2014. The Stronach family, owners of Gulfstream Park, is committed to the sport of thoroughbred racing and the grace, spirit, and generosity of the horse.
The Rainbow Six is back and it's better than ever. Now with a 20-cent base wager, it will expand the market for the popular bet. And in addition to doubling the base wager, the percentage return for the winners on the day the jackpot isn't hit increases to 70%, with 30% going to the carryover pool for the next program. Gulfstream Park, first post, 12:35 p.m. each and every day.
Welcome back to Gulfstream Park. We're going to have a look at the fifth race on the card, which kicks off the 20-cent Rainbow Six, and it is a 20,000 maiden claiming event, 1 mile and an eighth on the turf course. We do have a scratch, and Ron, I think it's a significant scratch. Number 2, Bold Runner. That was my top selection. I'm not sure if you used the horse. However, in another, my runner-up, let's say, the horse that I had in second, number 8, Barley Twist. This is a Ridgeling, actually, a 3-year-old Ridgeling by Bernardini. And I like the Bernardinis, especially the further they go, the longer they go. They seem to be able to handle the distance and getting some class relief this time.
Well, I'm going to be the first to admit I had a tough time with this race. I couldn't figure it out. So I used a horse on top that did something once before, and that's Win on the Turf. Was disqualified in that race, and that is the 4 Actium. And as I mentioned, he was placed 4th. That was at Indiana Grand. It was on October 1st. Now he's stretching out to 9 furlongs after finishing a 5-wide 4th. That was against $25,000 maidens going a mile on the Hawthorne turf. He's a son of Empire Maker, and he should have no problem handling this 9 furlong distance today. So Actium, who you used on your ticket too? I used number 9, Colonel Jordan, and number 8, Barely Twist. I'm going deep here in the Rainbow Six. I might go with all in this race and try and single a couple of things later on. That's how wide open I thought it was.
I also used number 6, Spellbreaker. I couldn't put him on top for obvious reasons. 0 for 22. I have that staring at me, but I think that he can come in and get a piece of it and run in the money. But you're right. I think we're going to have to use several in there.
Yeah, it was a tough race for me to handicap.
On to the 6th race on the card. It is a 20,000 maiden claimer, 7.5 furlongs on the turf course. A few scratches in there. Number 4 and 10 through 13, and kicks off the pick 5. My top selection in there, I went with number 8, Miss Saturday Night. I actually lost my top selection in that race. I went with number 8, Miss Saturday Night, but I think she's she's really going to be the horse to beat. And Tyler Gaffalione gets aboard. He's such a good rider, and yes, let's say the relief in weight, like the weight break, is a huge thing. But he's a very capable rider. Yeah,
definitely. He's doing a real good job. You know, from the first he started, we saw him over at Gulfstream Park West, and you could tell that he was a very talented rider. And what I liked about him, every time I would have to go into the jocks room for one reason or another, he'd be in there doing his homework, you know, looking at the previous races. So I knew he was going to be a good rider. And I agree with you, Total-Hearted. He looks like the one to beat, and they're stretching out around 2 turns. For the first time today, I also used the 1 Princess Romana, cutting back a tad today to that 7.5 furlong distance after making bid. Flattened out in that race. Finished 6th, was beaten 3 lengths. Going a mile, you know what? Was 134 to 1 last time out. I don't think you can get those same odds today. So I just thought number 1, Princess Romana, who you used on your ticket today, was in a tougher spot last time out, and I closed it out with the 7, Cat Lucky. And this kicks off, as you mentioned, the pick 5, 50-cent wager, the best bet on the track.
It sure is. And you mentioned the Princess Romana. She ran a much better race on the turf, relatively speaking, at those whopping odds. So it'll be interesting to see what she does when she comes back this time. It seems to be a surface that she really relishes. On to the 7th race on today's card, which kicks off the late pick 4, and we do have a maiden special weight, and it is for 2-year-olds, 1 mile and a 16th on the main track. Jockey change number 9, Journey Proud, going to be ridden by Irad Ortiz Jr. My top selection. I'm actually really excited about this race because there's several horses that I'm very keen to see. I had on top number 2. It looks like we did exactly the same thing. Royal Squeeze, a 2-year-old colt by Wildcat Air. I'm very fond of the Wildcats, the Wildcat Airs. Very speedy, very precocious. They tend to pass that on. They come out of the box running. And actually, this colt is a half to a couple of stakes winners. And ran a really nice race last time against Stakes Company. So, Ron, let's take a look back at that last race. And that was on October 4th. Just got beaten a nose, but a very, very professional run.
Yeah, and you're talking about the best thing is back with maidens today. She can prove she can run well on the dirt and handle a mile in the 16th, as you mentioned. Look at her here. You know, you're saying, okay, she's going to be second. All of a sudden, she re-breaks and just comes flying at the end. And everybody was oohing and ahhing. You couldn't tell who done it until they put the photo up there. So number 2, Royal Squeeze. We were talking about the Rainbow Six and who we might have to single, to add more in the 5th race. Here's my single, and it's number 2, Royal Squeeze. I'm singling this horse right on top. I was really impressed with this horse.
Having said that, the one thing I'm going to watch is there's a horse in this race that I've been following since he ran at Monmouth Park, and that's number 3, Made from Lucky. He's a colt by Looking at Lucky. If you recall, he was a classic winner. And now the mare is actually an unraced full sister to Tappet. Tappet, who won the Wood Memorial and who's also probably one of the leading stallions in the world. You look at his first few starts, he ran against some credible company, but he was running 4.5, 5 furlongs. You have to see this colt run. He's a distance horse. He's a horse that's going to get better as he goes along. He ran a pretty good race on October 10th behind Wild Zambezi. I'm expecting him to move forward. I spoke to John Mazza a little bit earlier this week. He said he's been doing great. In terms of the single, this is the horse I want to really be watching in here and see how he.
Well, I'm going to use the 2 and the 3 in that race. I don't know about the single. I'm also going to use the 1 on Earn. The 9, Journey Proud, is making his first trip around 2 turns. It's Todd Fletcher, and as we mentioned, Irad Ortiz Jr. will be in the saddle. And as we mentioned, also this kicks off the last pick 4 of the afternoon, and that is races 7, 8, 9, and 10.
I also used Saham in there, and that's a 2-year-old colt by Lemon Drop Kid from the Brendan Walsh barn. Very good second last time. I thought he was wide coming into the stretch, and I think that he's going to be one to watch as well. I don't know if it's as clear-cut as you do, but you know what? They make liars out of us. They come in and, you're going to have the favorite winning in that one. On to the 8th race on the card, and we do have a couple of scratches in there. We have the 2, the 9, the 10. Number 1, I Am Now, is going to be ridden by Irad Ortiz Jr. And my top selection in there, I went with number 6. And that's a Princess Mariah from the Eddie Keneally barn. And Ron, I really like her. She's got a beautiful pedigree. She's by Giant's Causeway. The mare is actually a daughter of a champion older mare, and that's Princess Rooney, won the Breeders' Cup Distaff. So beautiful family, beautiful pedigree. I think if she runs back to her last race on the turf, by the way, because her last race was on the dirt, it came off the turf at Churchill Downs on October 31st. But I think if she runs back to her turf races, we're in good shape.
Well, my top pick was Scratch, and it was the number 9, Queen's Prize, who was owned by Her Majesty the Queen. I called her this morning and asked why she scratched this horse. She did not answer me. He's probably busy there with the holidays.
I don't blame her.
Yeah, a mile and 3/16, a distance we don't run here very, very often. Allowance optional claimer. I went with the 8, Empress Maker, stretching out slightly after following her maiden special weight victory at Keeneland. Then she comes back and runs a really well-meant second, going a mile in the 16th, and that's on the Gulfstream Park West turf. The trainer, Graham Motion, Luis Saez, as Prado sticks with the Queen's horse, who he's not going to ride today because the Queen's horse is not running. So we're going to go with Empress Mick. I mean, he would have rode these horses, but being that he had switched to there. I also used the 1, I Am Now, on the inside. I thought this horse, see, you have her on the ticket too. I just thought she was the inside speed in here for Todd Fletcher, and this horse, if I can get up there and get a nice tactical position from that inside post, might be able to steal it.
Yeah, 2 points about that race. Empress Maker, you made beautiful pedigree as well. She's by Empire Maker, and the mare was Ticker Tape, a 2-time Grade 1 winner, and she won over $1 million, and she looks like she has lovely pedigree. I think she'll step forward. I Am Now, I didn't have her initially. She actually came into, I had the Queen's horse as well. This one I moved her up. You forget that last race, that was on the dirt. Her 2 races were good on the turf, and I just think that a couple of them might be better, but we'll see. It is Todd Fletcher after all. On to the 9th race on the card, and we do have a 7 furlong event, and it is a starter, optional claimer, a 50,000 claiming price. And Ron, my top selection, I went with number 6. Oh, here he is, Todd Pletcher. Like I said,
Right
you got
on
it.
top.
Well, here he is in this one, Money Game. I think Money Game is really the horse to beat in here.
Yeah, but I got a long shot I want to show you about this. Actually, a long shot I picked in the program. We're going to go back and show you this race from November 27th, and it's hardly the name of the horse. He gets steadied, forcing the jockey to pull up. You're going to watch him here, and I just thought that, this horse would have run much better in here. You'll see it right now as they come back. Just gets, squeezed out of the whole thing and loses momentum, more importantly, and just comes along. So I just thought that I was going to use, Sharply today as a long shot. But you're absolutely right about number 6, Money Game, stretching out to 7 furlongs in the first start. You see, this horse didn't run bad, hardly. I just think that someone you might want to put on your ticket. I used the 6, Money Game on top. Hardly's my long shot. Also used the 5, Libby's Lucky Charm, and didn't know what to do. And I did see you didn't use it on your ticket with the 2, Queen Cat. Does her best running in the latter stages of the race, cutting back. Things get dicey on the front end. This one might be to come along and get everybody at the wire.
I think it's a pretty interesting race because I was looking at it from a perspective of speed and who might be showing speed. Crazy Laura, we think she'll be up there, but Queen Cat maybe. My only problem that I didn't use was because she's a really deep closer.
Right.
But again, it depends how the race unfolds in the early stages. On to the 10th and final race on today's card, and we do have another starter optional claiming. This is for 16,000 claiming price, a mile and a 16th on the turf course. Several scratches, number 8, 10, 12, 13, 14, and 16. Super high 5 wagering, which they've been killing it with the super high 5 wagering.
It's been amazing, and we're going to have the number 15 horse get in off the also eligible list and run. So when you put your super high 5 ticket, a lot of people forget that. You got to flip the page, and number 15 will be running in there. I went with the 6, Wild Suava on top of my ticket. So did you, the 9, Bargaining Table. And the horse I love, and you have him on the ticket too, is Done One. He's a 3-time winner on this course.
I just looked back to a couple of her races back in August and September, and I think her numbers, I was looking at the Thorograph sheets, her numbers came back very, very strong. I think she fits. She runs back to those numbers. I think even Wild Suava is going to have a hard time beating her.
Yeah, so you got to have her on the ticket. I think she can jump up and definitely win it. Certainly you got to use her on your super high 5 ticket.
Well, that's it for today's 10-race card. We're going to have Larry Colmus coming on in just a moment to give you all the updated changes in scratches, and we will send you off with a look back at last weekend. Sky Flight from the Mark Casse barn, getting up late and winning the Tropical Park Derby. Stick around, folks. Good card on tap.
Cement Clement trying to take him the distance here. Other cheek. Here's Sky Flight on the outside. My Stormtrooper is next. And then Smooth Daddy. It's Cement Clement and Sky Flight coming. So too Smooth Daddy and Cabo Cat. Sky Flight has won it.